G77 and China Summit kicked off in Havana as President Díaz-Canel and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres opened the world meeting. In the United States, Autoworkers went on strike on Friday for an indefinite period. The Libyan city of Derna has buried thousands of people in mass graves as their tombs cover ruins left by devastating floods. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Razabal from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The summit of the group of 77 and China convened. The summit of 77 and China convened by Cuba begins today in Havana, focusing on current development challenges, the role of science, technology, and innovation. The leader of the Cuban Revolution, Raúl Castro, is present at the opening date of the G77 and China Summits being held at the Havana Convention Palace. The meeting will be attended by more than 100 delegations from the member countries of the bloc and officials from international organizations who will discuss political and economic issues of relevance for developing nations. In addition to the roles of President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, the country that holds this year the pro tempore presidency of this association, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, will also take the floor, followed by the general debate. The participants will continue with the historical claims of the group, particularly in relation to the new international economic order. And in this context, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel welcomed dozens of heads of states and government at the Convention Palace in this capital city, venue of the G77 and China Summit starting today. The President personally received and shook hands with the dignitaries in attendance, including the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, and the President of Suriname, Chan Santokhi, and Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, among others. The meeting is attended by over 100 delegations from the bloc's member countries and officials from international organizations who will discuss relevant political and economic issues for developing nations. And will continue the group's historic demands, particularly in relation to the new international economic order, the reform of the world financial architecture, rejection of unilateral coercive measures, situation of wealth concentration, and the burden of foreign debt. The G77 and China is the most diverse consultation group in the multilateral sphere, with 134 member states representing two-thirds of the membership of the United Nations organization and 80% of the world's population. The President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, arrived in Havana to attend the G77 and China Summit. The Venezuelan president arrived Friday morning in the Cuban capital after concluding his successful tour in China. Venezuela's participation in the Global South Summit is paramount, as the country has been historically linked to the development efforts of the Global South. Before this arrival, President Maduro visited Algeria, where he held a meeting with the Prime Minister Ahmed Ben Hamad in the city of Algiers. There, Caracas and Algeria relaunched their diplomatic ties and agreed to elaborate a cooperation map under the principle of shared benefits in the recent Eurasian tour made by the Venezuelan dignitary in June 2023. The President of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, arrived in Havana on Thursday to take part in the summits of the Group of 77 and China. The President does not plan any public acts until Friday, when he will take part in the first day of the summit and attend the dinner offered by the host, the President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel. The delegation accompanying Fernandez is made of the Foreign Minister Santiago Cafiero, the Secretary General Julio Vitobello, the Presidential Spokesperson Gabriela Cerruti, and the Ambassador of Argentina to the United States, George Arguello. The summit, in which some 30 heads of states are participating, represents a diplomatic success for Havana, but also an enormous logistical challenge for the island in the midst of a multidimensional crisis. We go back to the summit in Havana, where Gladys Quesada is now ready to bring us the latest updates of the G77 and China Summit, which has already kicked off. Tell us, Gladys, what's the latest news?
Thanks, Adeneb, for this time and also this second time in From the South and TeleSUR English. We are here, we are still in the briefing room, but we have more details of what is happening and what is just taking place in this summit of the G77 and China. In this case, the president of Cuba, the president also of this summit, offered the opening remarks for all the guests and the attendees. In his speech, he stressed the humble core and the humble nature of this summit that is taking place in Cuba, mainly because of the hardships and the economic liabilities that the island is facing. Let's recall the island last year had several events that turned the economy, and also the island is also under the heaviest grip of the blockade of the U.S. The president recalled all of this, but he also made other remarks, other statements that gave a paramount, an overview of this summit and this gathering. First and paramount, first of all and foremost, he recalled the presence, the legacy, and the path that set other leaders in this summit and in this group. That's to say, Hugo Chavez from Venezuela and the historical leader of the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro Ruz. Also, the president of Cuba said something that was the core, or is the core of this gathering, is that the Global South also exists. The Global South is here, the Global South is willing to be a decisive part of the decision-making gatherings in the world, and also the economies. Also, the president of Cuba recalled how this nation, this island, humble island, had a key participation in combating the COVID-19 pandemic, and how technology and sustainable development are one of the premises of the gathering and also for Cuba. The president of Cuba also stressed that the North-South cooperation is paramount, but the Global South is going to have a decisive role, not only just as a passive subject in this equation, but also as an active subject and actor in this. Also, he stressed that cooperation and solidarity among the global nations in the South is paramount. Not competition, not dominance, not hegemony, just cooperation, solidarity, and finding the strengths, the potential, and also how every country can just help the other and help itself in this race to save the planet and to save the political alliances that have been taking place. Also, he called for the democratization of technologies. Let's recall that the president said in his remarks that technology have been weaponized by the North and the Western powers against the poorer nations and against those in disadvantage. And recall that during the pandemic, all the drug companies and all the health big pharma had the power and weaponized this against the poorer countries and concentrated all the vaccines and were not in a position of equality, in a position to share their knowledge. And he was very, very emphatical in this. Also, the General Secretary of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, offered remarks, and he stressed that the Global South has to come together to face what has been a historical disadvantage, what has been neocolonialism, and what has been dominance. Now the heads of state and all the attendees to this summit are taking the family photo that is going to be part of the evidence of this summit, this gathering, and later it is expected more events and more gatherings and that the debate sessions start. For now, this is all in this moment with you, and we will be here to offer you more information and more details with you.
Gladys Quesada reporting for us from the Commission Palace. Thanks, Gladys Quesada. And let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you find news in different formats, new dates, and more. Other studies coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Brazil Federation of Petroleum Workers Union is demanding justice for the millions of jail losses caused by the Operation Car Wash anti-corruption investigation, which was recently ruled fraudulent by Brazil's Supreme Court. In Pernambuco, our correspondent Brian Meyer has more details. Let's watch.
After the Supreme Court put the final nail in the coffin of the now disgraced Operation Car Wash investigation last week by annulling as fraudulent all evidence collected from Odebrecht Construction Company, Brazil's National Federation of Petroleum Workers Unions, FUPE, is demanding justice for all of the workers who lost their jobs.
I worked at Abreu Lima refinery as a driver. But in 2016, Operation Car Wash came, and the construction of the second refinery unit was halted and thousands of people were fired. I have been working as an app driver ever since.
Before the 2016 coup, Brazil was on the verge of becoming self-sufficient in gasoline production. Then President Michel Temer used Operation Car Wash as an excuse to privatize refineries and halt construction of a second refinery in Abreu Lima. Now Brazil is importing around $11 billion a year in gasoline refined from its own petroleum.
The entire Petrobras system was damaged by the Operation Car Wash. One proven goal of Car Wash, which was sponsored primarily by the United States, was to dismantle Brazil's oil refining capacity. When Brazil became self-sufficient in petroleum in 2008, they began to worry that Brazil would become a major oil-producing power.
The end result of the economic sabotage waged against Brazil's National Development Plan by the Operation Car Wash Task Force's illegal collaboration with the U.S. Department of Justice was millions of unemployed and over 20 million Brazilians falling below the poverty line.
In 2021, the S Institute released a study showing that the Operation Car Wash resulted in 4.4 million job losses in Brazil. Mainly in the oil and gas sector, and it is the forced bankruptcy of the largest civil construction companies.
This week, President Lula announced that Petrobras will finally finish building its second refinery in Abreu Lima. Brian Meyer, TeleSUR, Suape, Pernambuco.
In the United States, the workers went on strike indefinitely on Friday in the absence of an agreement to sign a new collective bargaining deal. The strike was initiated by thousands of workers at three assembly plants of General Motors, Ford, and Southland United in the union United Autoworkers. It is the first time in history that factories of the so-called Big Three of Detroit, as the three companies are known, have gone on strike simultaneously. Union President Sean Fain announced at the 11 p.m. local time on Thursday that the first to go on strike as part of a selective strike would be about 13,500 workers at assembly plants in Wentzville, Toledo, and Michigan, who are rallying at the company's gates.
Give our national negotiators maximum leverage and flexibility in bargaining. And if we need to go all out, we will. Everything is on the table. You are ready to join the stand-up strike at a moment's notice. We'll give our national...
The Libyan city of Derna has buried thousands of people in mass graves as their teams clear ruins left by devastating floods. The floods swept away entire families on Sunday nights and exposed vulnerabilities in the oil-rich country. Health officials have confirmed 11,000 deaths and say 9,000 people are still missing. A UN official said on Thursday that most casualties could have been avoided if there had been a normal operating meteorological service that could have issued timely warnings. Officials in eastern Libya reportedly warned the public about the coming storm, but did not suggest dams could collapse or present an evacuation plan. Libya had been mired in conflict since 2011 uprising that toppled long ruling President Mohamed Gaddafi. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosabal. Thank you for watching.